Hey everyone, let's jump right into this explainer. We're going to discover how the humble, everyday letter C can actually unlock some pretty wild hidden traits of your personality. A lot of people look at handwriting to find meaning, sure, but the exact way you curve this one single letter, it might just hold the key to your self-esteem, your creativity, and yeah, even your hidden fears. So let's break down the source material and see what's going on here. Now, when most people analyze handwriting for confidence, they almost always look straight at the letter T, specifically, how high you cross it. But the source material reveals a totally different perspective. It turns out the real secret to self-esteem is hiding right in plain sight, right within the letter C. Its size, its shape, how open it is, it all offers this really profound window into how comfortable you actually are in your own skin.
And that brings up a really fascinating core question for us. Can intentionally altering just one little curve on a page actually transform who you are? I mean, it almost sounds like magic, right? But it's actually rooted in this concept called graphotherapy. We aren't just looking at handwriting to judge who you are right now. We're exploring it as a literal tool for transformation. Your brain obviously dictates your hand movements. But what if your hand movements could actually send signals right back to your brain?
So let's start with Section 1, Decoding Handwriting Zones. Think of a regular piece of lined paper as kind of a psychological map, and it's split into 3 distinct zones. The upper zone, that represents your mental orientation, stuff like imagination, planning, your daydreams. Then the middle zone is basically the heart. It's your everyday emotions and social interactions. And finally, the lower zone represents your physical energy and drive. Now, an uppercase C physically bridges your imagination in the upper zone with your daily emotions in the middle zone, but a lowercase c, that sits squarely in the emotional middle zone, which is literally the space of your self-image.
Moving right along to Section 2, Shapes of Personality. Okay, so the source data points out shape 17 as the shy C. Notice how super narrow it is? It almost looks like an I without the dot. People who write their Cs this way are often experiencing what graphologists call repression. Basically, they're holding back feelings and maybe lacking a bit of confidence. But contrast that with shape 16, what we call the friendly C. Look at that. It's this elongated, open, flowing half circle. Writing with this kind of wide, open stroke significantly increases approachability. It perfectly shows how just simple, everyday strokes can totally reflect our social extremes.
But hey, what if your C isn't just a standard curve? Take shape 10, for example. This one carries a really unique originality that reveals a highly creative, entrepreneurial mindset. The source notes that this specific variation belongs to the real out-of-the-box thinkers. They're super business-minded, they get straight to the point, and honestly, they often carry a slight quick-tempered edge simply because their minds are just moving so incredibly fast. We also see some really clear indicators of how your brain processes information and handles physical tasks. For instance, shape 3 features this distinct, sharp angle right at the top. That points to a meticulous, highly analytical thinker. Then there's shape 2, which is kind of boxy and square. Interestingly enough, this shape actually indicates great mechanical ability and fine motor coordination, stuff that's perfect for precision work. And finally, shape 4. It looks almost like a little E with a belly. This signifies someone who is very open to new ideas, yet fiercely protective of their own individualism.
Which brings us to Section 3, Angles, Loops, and Red Flags.
So shape 7 is known as the shell C. Notice how the C closes almost entirely in on itself, sort of masquerading as the letter O? Well, this functions quite literally like a shell, revealing someone who is highly protective of themselves. The source explains that individuals writing like this are constantly on the defensive. They really want to play it safe and keep the outside world at a very comfortable distance.
Now, let's talk about some of the more severe warning signs. These are the strokes you should definitely actively try to phase out. Shape 14 looks pretty aggressive, right? Like a K missing its stem, which indicates a very rigid, overly realistic personality. Then you have shape 15. This one features a bottom coil that mimics a grasping hand. That's a red flag, indicating underlying greed or deceit. And those shark bottom angles, like shape 9, or a wide open E like shape 21, those point to some pretty deep egoistic and egocentric tendencies. Definitely things to watch out for.
Thankfully, the source provides a super clear blueprint for change. This breaks down exactly which healthy shapes you want to aim for. Things like the honest half circle, the really capable mechanical box, or that driven entrepreneurial C. And conversely, it shows you what to ditch. You should actively try to eliminate those repressed, shy strokes, the aggressive angles, and definitely those grasping, greedy coils from your everyday handwriting.
All right, let's get into the really cool part.
Section 4, Rewiring with Graphotherapy.
Okay, so in graphology, the rule of reversibility applies. Handwriting changes character, and character changes handwriting. This whole idea of graphotherapy relies on a deeply fascinating biological and psychological feedback loop. Just as your internal feelings dictate the shapes you physically draw, intentional, mindful changes to your penmanship can actually send signals back up your arm to shift your personality traits. It is literally an active physical form of mindfulness. How cool is that?
To actually apply this, the source outlines a super straightforward 3-step action plan. First, you just identify your current C shape without any judgment. Are you maybe writing that repressed I shape? Secondly, choose a new, desired trait and its corresponding optimal shape. Maybe you want that entrepreneurial shape 10. And third, intentionally practice writing that brand new shape every single day. By forcing your hand to adopt an open, confident stroke, you are actively conditioning your mind to embrace open, confident behavior. It's that simple.
Now, of course, this requires consistency and a lot of intention. But this simple, everyday letter C really does hold a mirror up to our self-esteem, our logic, and our fears. And the best part, the pen is literally in your hands. So take a hard look at your everyday habits and ask yourself, what will you rewrite about yourself today? Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and we will definitely see you next time.